What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, powered by Living in Colorado, the Mile High Perspective on YouTube. As always, my name is Charlie Sardelli, and I'm here with
Jameson Amaros,
Oscar Barra,
and we are just three real estate agents out here in Colorado that love to drink bourbon and talk about real estate with you to hopefully arm you in what's to come in the real estate market. But honestly, guys, these last 3 years have been pretty hard to predict, obviously, with everything, the rates coming down. But what we're finding out, and if you're on any kind of real estate social media, or if you're searching real estate, I'm sure you've seen it. Agents and everybody's getting excited with what's going to happen in 2024. The Fed talking about rate cuts. We had an episode on that a couple episodes back, so feel free to check the channel, go view that one. But what we want to do today is just kind of talk with you about our expectations for spring 2024 and what it's going to look like, especially if all of these things fall into place that we think are going to fall into place. And as we do that, we always love to drink some bourbon, and today's bourbon is it's pretty heavy. I'm a little scared.
It's hot.
It's hot.
It's hot.
I was blindsided.
It's hot.
If you're
I
watching,
just found out what the proof of this
yeah,
is.
if you're watching the video, you can see that the bottle is open. We're letting the bottle.
We are letting this baby breathe.
We're letting it breathe a little bit. We took a little sniffer before of the bottle, and it was pretty hot. But the bottle that we're drinking today is Broken Barrel.
Broken? Yeah.
Yeah, Broken Barrel.
Yep.
And it's 115 proof, but it's a Kentucky, like a straight Kentucky bourbon,
Yep.
basically. So Jameson, break it down a little bit for us.
Great segue. There's a reason they call it Broken Barrel.
Was there a Broken
So
Barrel?
if you guys remember Oak and Eden,
Yeah.
they use the spires, right, to age the whiskey or to get some more flavor. So Broken Barrel has been around for a little bit. They've been around. I mean, it's a Kentucky bourbon. Actually won Best Kentucky Bourbon of 2023. But they have a very unique process on how they age this bourbon. So to start off, they've got a bunch of different bourbons available with different mash bills and all that kind of stuff, right?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's interesting to me that it says Best Kentucky Bourbon, and then you started with they have a different way of doing this, because a lot of the time you hear Kentucky bourbon and it's like traditional, non-deviation.
So it is, right?
On
So
top of that, how many best bourbons are 2023?
Yeah, right. We have like 17.
It's like, yeah, the best 2023. Best.
It's like
who the
it's
fuck
like
is the best of the best here?
It's like the Home
Sorry.
Snap Award.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I started
Yeah.
cussing early.
But no. So to answer your question, one of the main drivers of making a bourbon a Kentucky bourbon, in its truest form, is it has to be aged in American oak barrels for at least 2 years. Right.
They
That's one
follow
of
the guidelines to make it a bourbon.
That's one of the stipulations. So they do. So this is aged in American charred oak barrels for a minimum of 2 years. But then after that, they get a mixture of oak barrels, sherry barrels, wine barrels. Okay? They take those barrels and they smash them to smithereens. They take the bourbon that was aged for 2 years in the barrels
Sylvester.
and they put it into steel aging barrels now.
What?
And then they take the broken barrel bits of all these different barrels
And throw them in there.
and then age it for another 2 to 3 years.
I have never seen a steel. Like, is it like a steel
It's
drum?
a steel drum.
Wow.
So they literally
So is there going to be hints of
Steel.
steel?
no. There's not going to be hints of steel.
I'm
But
tasting
they
uranium
essentially-
here.
They basically what their mantra is. They believe, and our here you go. This guy's getting it. They believe that 80% of the character of whiskeys is barrel based, but they believe that if you age it in just a barrel and it's just touching the sides of the barrel, because those barrels aren't sloshing around and whatnot, they wanted to experiment with the staves, which is what they're called, right? Barrel staves, and they chose different barrel staves to age different barrel or different types of their bourbon.
Okay.
And I wonder what the volume of it is too. Is it a way to, because you're gonna lose from what the barrel
So
kind of pulls out of the
Yeah.
alcohol, and then the evaporation of it in a steel drum. I'm wondering if they capture more of the bourbon and how that affects it as well.
Yeah.
So this one that we're drinking is the Broken Barrel Cask. So this one is hit with French oak staves, ex-bourbon barrel staves, and a blend of ex-sherry cask staves.
Sherry. Okay. Interesting. I mean, I could So you said 2-year base,
Yep.
and then 2 to 3 years after with
Correct.
the
Just the drum
Yep.
or the
Yeah.
steel drum.
and the bit and the wooden bits in there.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you want the breakdown, the oak, because so they, everybody has a mash bill.
Yeah.
Well, these guys introduced oak bills
Nice.
because every single one's different
Mm-hmm.
percentage of the staves, right? So they've got this one is a 40% French oak, 40% bourbon cask, 20% sherry cask staves.
Okay.
So this is kind of why they use the staves. So this is the reason, right? This is straight from the
You're
website.
gonna get like. I'm interested.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you
Straight
have
from the website is
the
there-
metallic portion of the barrel has to have some kind of flavor to
There
it.
is a tremendous amount of surface area when using staves to further mature a whiskey, much more than using the inside of a barrel.
I mean, it makes sense.
Right?
Yeah. it
So
makes
over
sense.
twice the total area of oak comes into contact with the liquid, with each stave furthering the depth of character and enhancing the whiskey's flavor.
I mean,
you
just
go to the mash bill,
yeah.
115, so it's barrel proof. Which,
Yep.
as a reminder, barrel proof just means that no water has been used to distill this down to a specific ABV. Whatever it comes out of the barrel at the alcohol, that's what it is. This one's 57.5%. Right, so it's spicy.
East is
Spicy. So the mash bill is 70% corn, 21% rye, 9% malted barley.
9%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So it's good.
Glad I ate breakfast.
It's right, exactly. But I mean, just right off the bat, I love the color of it. It kind of has that that red amber, that not really that popping brown.
I like how none of us have their glass in our hands.
And not yet.
Kind of
No.
scared.
We're just looking at it.
It's a little early in the morning for.
No,
yeah.
so they have a diagram of how they do this.
Interesting.
So essentially, they reconstruct the barrel with the staves and then put essentially what would be a smaller, empty oak barrel inside of the
Barrel?
drum where the whiskey's aged.
Oh wow. So it's not. Okay.
So they
So the-
reassemble it. So they break them apart.
Yeah.
And the staves are, just like the pieces of wood on the outside of the barrel. They break all that apart and then they reassemble it based on their oak bill and then put that into the steel drum where the whiskey's aging.
And then they slosh it around. Mm-hmm. So
Huh.
it doesn't come into contact with the steel.
It does.
They pour the liquid around the
Correct.
barrel
Oh, they put-
inside. Yeah. So like the barrel is
So they
inside
take
the
it
metal
apart.
still.
They pour it in with the staves
Yep.
around it, and then they close
Yeah,
it
so I don't know if you can see that, but this is what it would look like.
inside.
Yes. Well, no, this is what they put inside the steel drum. And then the whiskey is around
around.
it and inside of it and
So
outside
instead of
it.
hitting just the inside
Correct.
of the wood,
Yes.
it's hitting all of it.
Awesome. So there's
right.
like rust and shit in this bourbon.
Yeah.
I love it.
There's rust in here. Well, that's what I was talking about with the color. I mean, in all reality,
Hold on. Do we have to be up? I forget. We're being recorded. Do we have to be up to date with our tetanus shot?
yeah, right?
I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, it's the color.
They have
really like
they
the
have a
color on it.
podcast.
They do have a podcast.
a podcast.
All right, we'll have to
Yeah.
reach out to them. Let's see. Hey guys, we did this. The nose, I know we had it open a little bit. It's definitely
Oh, it hits.
it hits, but it's lighter honestly than I expected it to be.
Ooh. Yeah,
It's
but
hard to
it's hard to
smell through and actually
yeah,
get
because
like,
it
a
gets
nose.
like the inside roof of your nose.
Yeah.
It comes in hard.
I'm getting a sweetness though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's definitely a sweetness there. The vanilla is subtle.
I mean, I can't smell past the alcohol. I smell
trying.
alcohol.
Dude, I'm
Trying.
not gonna lie though. The burn is
That's
not.
what I said. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, but I can't smell past the alcohol.
I get the vanilla.
Yeah,
don't.
but that's like the
I get sweetness. Maybe that's the vanilla, but I don't. It's
A
not a
little
bad
bit of
thing. It's
grain.
not a bad thing that I'm not smelling past it. It smells good. But
and honestly, I think the other thing too is with the alcohol, I think that's enhancing the wood.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get the sherry. a
Yeah,
little bit.
it's really well blended in there. Like yes, the alcohol is overpowering, but the wood definitely it's almost like a like the tartness of the wood
Yeah.
goes well with the heat of it in general. All right,
Yeah,
well,
I'm
cheers,
start- I'm
boys.
start-
for the-
I'm starting to get the.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get the sherry.
and as
a little bit
always,
more.
we have JC's glass here. It's going to be interesting to
Oh,
see how it
man.
opens. throughout the whole episode.
I don't know. I'm trying to get some kind of. Yeah, I'm getting lacquer and paint thinner.
Well,
Let's go.
cheers. 115.
Lacquer paint thinner and tetanus.
Let's get it.
Sounds like a good Friday night. Cheers.
Okay.
I get cinnamon.
Okay.
I'm getting actually a lot of
Yeah.
sweetness.
I'm getting a lot of raisin, cinnamon,
that
kind
malted
of
barley.
Yeah. But also with a hint of leather.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you boys. For 115,
Well, I was going to say it's definitely staying true to the higher ABV as far as you take the sip, it punches your mouth with the
Yep.
alcohol, like your tongue.
it's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot.
It definitely engulfs your tongue in your mouth, the back of your palate with the heat. But then
It mellows out.
Yeah. Once it mellows.
This is more my wheelhouse. I like it, and
Yeah.
it is 115, but the nose is a lot more pungent than the drink. It's smooth. It is 115, but it is smooth.
It is.
and it's smooth to where
Surprisingly smooth.
It goes on the palate, but it also lingers in your mouth.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Your lip, your cheek. It's still the burn is there, but not in a bad way. Kind of like when
And-
you're eating Red Hots, that kind of burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say it at 20% rye with a 9% barley, like you definitely get that evolution from spice, sweet, oak, back to spice, a little bit of
I don't
vanilla.
get a whole lot of spice though. I
Really?
like it. I get more of
I
a.
get spice on the back end.
I guess at the
I
finish.
get that sweet, like vanilla-ish caramel.
You ready for my off the wall?
Yep.
Yeah.
Breakfast cereal.
Okay.
Which
Like
breakfast
cornflakes.
cereal? Are we talking Fruit Loops? Or are
Lucky
we talking,
Charms.
Okay.
Okay. The
Breakfast
marshmallows.
cereal.
The marshmallows are the grain.
The milk afterwards, kind of that all cereal
'Kay.
sweetness.
Like an oat milk almost.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
can
see
get
that.
If
I
you've
mean,
ever had,
so-
if you've ever had arroz con leche, that's kind of where I'm going with.
The
A little bit of chocolate or almost peanut butter.
I mean,
Nutty.
so it has French oak staves,
'Kay.
which French oak is normally for wine, right, or champagne. And I can taste that. Like it's not. I don't get the char of like an American oak barrel as
Yeah.
much, and I think that's because when they put the staves in, they're already used bourbon staves, which means that wood is already soaked in some of those sugars and everything else. So when you put those used ones in, you don't get the oak grainy as much.
Yeah.
You get more of the after sweetness. I don't know. And the sherry, I can definitely taste the
Yeah.
sherry. It
Yeah,
kind of hits me in the back.
It's
of the mouth.
definitely
Yeah.
a sweet bourbon, not like we had talked about with the Breckenridge rum cast, but it's a sweet finish.
Yeah.
The oak, like you said,
Yeah.
it's not really there, but I think it's because of the process. And I'm getting spice, but not the kind of spice like pepper spice.
No.
It's a
no.
sweet spice.
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
like
I think
like
the other-
nutmeg and
The other
cinnamon.
piece of this, if you were to swap on the mash bill, the corn and the rye,
Yes.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
You would really feel like, holy shit, this is 115.
Yeah. This is.
But
oak,
because it's
yeah.
a high corn, not a high rye, you get the sweetness of the corn plus
And
the
then-
malted barley.
exactly.
And the rye is that dry finish that you're getting. But I think that sweet corn is working well with the French oak stave.
What was the mash bill for the barley?
Well, the mash
wheat?
bill is 70% corn, 21% rye,
Rye, 9%.
and 9%
malted barley.
malted barley.
And most
Wow, I would
most
think it was
bourbon
higher
whiskeys
malted.
are 3 to 5% of the high end. So, I mean, honestly, it makes sense with how they did it because by putting that full wood in, you're going to get more tartness out of the wood. So by adding more of that malted barley in, that sweetness with the corn would cut that sharpness that you get from
I
the
mean,
wood.
here's my honest assessment. If I wanted to make a bourbon, then I'm like, you know what? This is going to fuck you up, but you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Not this is going to fuck you up, but it's like Copper Sky, right? They're 130% or whatever, or sorry, 130 proof. That is pure ethanol.
Yeah.
Like it is hard for me to sip that and go, oh, I can pick out A, B, and C. And I actually I physically enjoy drinking this.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, no, I'm going to take 3 drinks of this and I'm going to be fucked up.
If you haven't had
Versus
130 plus proof, like there's no experience.
Hold on. To back Copper Sky up a little bit, you throw in a cube in there,
Correct.
the vanilla notes come out.
They do, but
And
I'm
it
saying
makes a great
when
old-fashioned
we're
because
doing
of that.
this, right? We do all of these without any sort of ice or water. What I'm saying is, if I got somebody that enjoys bourbon, but they want to try like a higher proof bourbon, I think this is pretty mellow considering it's almost 58%.
How would you rate the mellowness? Because I agree, it is mellow to the Prohibition. Old Forester. Because that was 115 proof.
I think the Prohibition did better with but again, I
It's
think
traditional.
Not only that, but because it started out as a medicine, they had to make it more palatable. So I think that's why the Prohibition was just a little bit more, it wasn't as complex, but it was easier to.
It wasn't as
easier to
front
drink.
heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't as front.
There's a lot going on with this bourbon.
There is,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how this thing opens up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's going to be one of those where like the sip at the beginning versus like JC's glass at the end is going to be like, well, did we just switch bourbons? So
Absolutely.
There's definitely a lot of flavor for the 115.
Yeah, that's what's getting me, honestly.
I don't know how to assess that yet. I don't know if it's going to like just hit me in the face and be like, okay, I'm done with it. Or if it maintains it, because it mellows out. If it maintains that, that's good. That's a good characteristic of it.
Because like even right now, I put the glass down, I haven't taken a sip for a while. I think that exactly to your point, what you just said, Oscar, is like, this may be, hey, if I sip this too much, it gets overwhelming as it builds on itself. I could definitely see where this goes with that because of that sweetness. But again, that's why I'm excited for the end, the open glass, the one that's just sitting, so we can actually taste that evolution. Because just on the first sip, like I said, it blew me away. Like, yes, it was hot, but then the second that heat subsided, flavor, like just back to back to back.
Yep.
And even now sitting, it's like, it's got that nice, like, I feel like I just had like a caramel candy drop.
I like the front end heat in my bourbons, and that's what this brings.
Yes.
It's the back end that just keeps going, and it just feels like heartburn. I don't like that. This definitely doesn't have that.
No.
But it so for me, I enjoy the burn. So the burn's kind of like, okay, that's there. It comes in with all the flavors right off the bat for me.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Again,
how much was the 1920?
$60.
Yeah. Okay. And as always, guys, we reveal the price of the bottle at the end of the episode. That way we can factor it into our rock rating. But as we sip through this, we've gone through some hard times in these last couple of years with the real estate market, and a lot's been said. A lot of people are trying to come up with solutions for it. But we started the year off with some pretty good news as far as, regardless of how you feel, left, right, whatever it is. Stats, numbers of the economy, unemployment is doing great. Inflation has been tampered, down for months on end now. And what that's doing is that's giving the Fed a little bit more leeway, a little bit more leniency. And, we had the episode a couple back where we talked about, oh my God, everybody's freaking out. The rates just dropped because the Fed's going to drop rates. Now, when we talked about it then, it was 2-3 weeks ago, we're thinking that we're going to drop it 3 to 4 times. Now they're going, they could drop it up to 6 times because of how well it's looking at the start of the year. And what we want to talk about today is kind of how to prepare for that, right? Because we definitely have, as a buyer and as a seller, we've gotten to a point in the last year, 2 years, where there's not a lot of prep that you have to do. If you're able to put a down payment down, if you're able to go in on a house, a lot of the time you're not going to come up against other offers and things like that. And I'm not going to say it was easy by any means, but based on how markets have been in the past, especially here in Colorado, we might see this 2024 spring market with these dips explode again. And now you're going to have to go up against other offers. And I mean, just as an example, I just went under contract with a young couple who's first-time home buyers, and this condo that we were looking at was on market for 77 days, right? And obviously rates have come down. They continue to drop. We're getting good forecasts. And they just dropped the price from $330 to $320, so a $10,000 drop. This property, again, 77 days on market. We went and looked at it. No offers, nothing. Rates dropped. Price dropped. Got a call from listing agent. Hey, Charlie, just want to let you know we had a showing and they're extremely interested. Just want to be transparent with you. And now automatically, after 4 months of looking with no problems, no issues, we look to put an offer in, and boom, we might have to go up against somebody else. So obviously we were lucky that $10,000 came off. You know, they dropped it because that gave us a lot more leeway to come in at list, not asking for concessions, with very strong offer to the sellers. And luckily we're under contract, but it just goes to show, like, this is, again, first week of January with these predictions, and we're already seeing stuff like this happen. So I don't know, guys. I think spring 2024 is going to be a shock to a lot of people, specifically because rates are going to come down, and then everybody's going to go, oh, okay, I'm in. But then we haven't fixed the inventory issues, and prices are still up.
This is the beauty of this podcast. I love the fact that Charlie hasn't been jaded like myself or experienced like myself, the way, whatever you want to see. You know, everything you said is on the money, but the market's going to do what it's going to do.
Yep.
I've been through recessions. I've been through interest rates, hikes and drops. I've been through the Big Short. I was in the industry when that all happened. One, it's hard to predict the market because there's so many factors, so many from you know, the job market to wars, presidential elections. Everything affects real estate. It's just going to do what it does. The way you prep for it, it's kind of fail-proof. When's the best time to buy? When you're ready. I had this conversation with one of my good friends, and you know, he's bought a few properties from me, and he calls me up and he says, hey, I think I want to buy another property. Is this a good time, or do I wait till the rates drop? I said, what do you want to go for? Do you want to go for madness, or do you want to go for opportunity? Get you a buy down, wait till the rates drop, you buy it for less. It makes more financial sense. Not that I'm trying to force you to buy now, but if you're ready now, do it now. If you're ready then, do it then, right? To me, when the market's all out of whack and doing everything, it's just going to do what it does. You have no control of that, but you do have control of prepping for what is to come, and if you need or to buy or sell. Now, we touched on a lot of these things in the past of what to do to prep to buy a home. I think today's episode is going to be good to recap on a lot of things because now we're entering something different.
Yep.
You know, we're going to get back to the frenzy.
Yeah.
And for the last 5 years, we've had low inventory. I've been in a market when we've had 36,000 listings in the Denver metro area. That means 6 to 8 months worth of inventory. That's all for the folks that are listening and watching. When you judge how much inventory is, the way we see it and we calculate it is that there's 6 months to 10 months worth of inventory to sell before we have nothing. So right now, it's not even anywhere close.
He said how much? 36,000, right?
36,000.
So if you take new listings, back on market, and price decreased listings, we're sitting at about, call it 1,700.
1,700. I've been in a market where there was 36,000.
1,700
Imagine doing real estate there. You didn't want listings back then.
Yep.
You list to last, they used to say. Buyers were the way to go because you would go in, you were priced at 300,000. I was going to offer 250, and you'd go back and forth, and then I'd ask for 10,000 in closing costs. And back then, that you could use those closing costs for down payment if you wanted to. It was Wild West back then, right? I've seen all of that into what we're dealing with now, and you know, we should have a couple of my buddies. They're at the KW office. They're always badgering me. When were you going to have me on your podcast? Yeah, I was like, come down. You know, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what their cockamamie brain's going through too, because I look at real estate way different than both of you, and mine isn't right, yours isn't, you know, and none of the point of views are better. It's just different, and I can appreciate that from a standpoint of I've been in the business for over 20 years to see what your point of view is, because I like to see real estate through another lens, and you two especially give me that. Just so you know, you give me that other lens to look at. This guy looks at it through data and numbers, and I'm very much data and numbers. I've gotten a little lazy on my data and numbers, but I love to hear the data and numbers, and I like the fresh view of your generation, because we're still close to the same generation, but you're in the front end of it, and what you're looking at, because your generation's the new breed of buyers right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing too, is, you know, I think that obviously we got up to 8% on interest rates, right? And we talked last year around this time about how people were getting comfortable with where interest rates were at. So if they were getting comfortable then at 6.5, 6.8, and then now we go up to 8, and they've experienced basically, hey, the worst of the worst in the last 20 years. How do you think it's going to happen now now that they're projecting, hey, we're going to cut rates again? So we could see 6.5, we could see 6.2. It's possible, not heavily, but what is that going to do? And a lot of the time, what at least what I'm seeing is when we have so many more people that come into the buyer pool, it's going to get really interesting. And it's almost as if I'm excited to see it, only so it's an experience of, see, guys, this is what we were talking about. If you would have taken the last year to plan, put this in place, you will be the strongest. You'd be the biggest flexing muscle when everybody's coming in because you're a year ahead. And that's what I think we're going to see.
As a realtor, our job is to do what the consumer wants, right? We're going to be your advocate. We're going to give you our professional opinion. I'm curious to see if the consumer, the general public, learned from what happened 2 years ago, because now we're going to get an influx of buyers again.
Yep.
And two things are going to happen, right? The mortgage side is going to get backed up because now they're going to be refining, and they're going to have a lot of buyers. I'm curious to see if there's going to be bidding wars for price point.
Yeah.
I'm curious because that's what got us here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if it's going to, it wasn't so much a sense of desperation because we don't have the low rates. So I think people hopefully are going to pump the brakes and say, okay, I'm not going to add on to this, but how can I make it a little more savory for the seller so they could, or entice the seller to take my offer, not so much price, because if we go back to that, I think we're going to end up in a pretty crappy situation. I don't think it's going to go. I'm curious to see if that's going to happen.
And also it's just incredible. I mean, you hear me talk about it all the time, but it's so location and market specific, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we're sitting here going, oh, if we go down to 6.5, we're going to have this many more buyers come to the market and be ready. But our average sale price is still $550,000 plus, right? Versus you have Kansas, Wyoming, North Carolina, all these places that are still sitting at $250. And I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not a capitalist. I don't have investments here, investments there. I don't have money to throw, but I'm definitely sitting here going, oh, damn, man. If I lived in North Carolina right now, if I moved my money to North Carolina once these rates drop, I could destroy those people there. I could, and that's how you think with buyers. And you got to think Colorado is getting that from Californians, because where we're going, oh, I could sell my house out here for $550 and then go buy 2 houses now for that price down in North Carolina, especially Western North Carolina. California's doing the same thing to us because they're going, oh, I just sold my house for $900,000. I can 100% buy a house there for $500,000. And I think I'm interested to see how migration patterns start to look, because I feel like, and we're already seeing it here in Colorado, so many people are cashing out going, oh, in the last 4 years, I made an extra 40% on my house. I'm going to take that, put the rest in the bank, go buy a house and some acreage and relax for a little bit. And I'm excited to see what happens once rates come down and people feel a little bit more confident based on the numbers.
And you said it earlier about, location, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about it at the other podcast. I had a buyer that, again, this property, we were looking at a lot of properties, and there was a home that went up for sale in Lone Tree. It was on the market for 3 days. I called the agent. She had 5 offers, 1 cash. You would think I was looking at a $250,000 townhome. No, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, borderline patio home. It was one of those smaller ones in Lone Tree.
$625.
$950.
And I just had this conversation. What's so crazy is it's so prevalent in the market and in the numbers. If you actually look at it, the first time home buyer homes, they are slow, but the cash homes, the real money ones, the 800,000 up, that market really never died.
And you know what beat us all out? Cash.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a cash with an escalation clause of 10,000 jump price.
Yep.
And I don't know what the cap was.
And if you guys, escalation clauses just basically mean you say, hey, if somebody comes in and goes up to this, we're willing to put our offer up to that amount to match, and it goes up to a certain amount. So that's a great segue into kind of why we want to talk about this, because a lot of the time, we've told you in the past, saving, creating a a savings plan with your lender and stuff, that will prepare you for what's coming when the housing market comes back. But then also it's strategy as well, right? If you don't understand how much you can pull from a concession, what you can ask for, when to ask for it, how to ask for it, and how to communicate that with your agent, you might go up against somebody who has taken the time, who has watched the Mile High Perspective on YouTube and gotten the information, and and then you're going up against somebody who knows a little bit more and can actually have that conversation at a higher level with their agent versus just, hey man, here's some money. I want to buy a house. What do I do?
And I want to offer this to the viewers and the listeners too. Call one of us. Call me. I will do a free consultation. Let's look at what your situation is. It's not going to be. I'm not going to push you. I might put you in a drip, but that's not very in your face. Or if you think it's beneficial to you, I stopped doing these a long time ago just because they were time consuming and they didn't really do much. But maybe do a home buyers course, right?
Yeah.
We have a facility here. We could get 20, 30 people in here, and we could do Q&As or just go through the process. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone, leave us a comment, and let us know, hey, I'd like to learn a little bit more.
On that note, guys, TikTok peeps, thank you so much. We're growing. You guys are following. You're liking the content. You're reaching out. Guys, once we get to 1,000 followers, exactly what Oscar just talked about, we're able to go live on there. We're more than happy to do the podcast episode, then throw it up, go live for you guys, sit here and answer questions that'll help you out. Because at the end of the day, again, that's why we do this. So stay tuned, please. If you haven't, go follow us on TikTok, The Mile High Perspective. Help us get to that 1,000 followers so we can go live and help even more people across the country.
Drop us a comment too. These two boys, managers that I'm not gonna lie, I've really never gone onto TikTok for The Mile High Perspective, but they tag me on everything. If you need to say something about me or something, comment.
Yeah,
good or bad. I want to see it. And man, can you imagine that episode? Live? That's gonna go like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's
I'm just gonna
be
say
fun.
it'll be fun.
We're gonna kill a bottle.
Be a fucking
Yeah, we might need a backup bottle for that episode.
Right?
We'll do like an 80 proof.
Well, and it's funny. You guys heard me talk about it before, but
we're gonna do Malibu rum today.
Yeah.
Just 'cause
Oscar
Some Tech 9 in the background, 151. Malibu rum, some pineapple juice.
Oh man, Oscar and I have been kind of talking, and it's funny because if you're not on the video, you can't see Jameson just over here like Bruce Almighty style, clicking on the keys, typing away, and I look over and there's just graphs on the screen, and he's just sitting here waiting. So, Jamo, what you got building up? What's going on?
It's interesting, right? Because everybody has an opinion, like Oscar said, on the housing market and how it's so very hard to predict. And if you ask, 10 different realtors, you might get 10 different answers, or you might get a resounding, the spring housing market's going to go nuts, and you guys have to be prepared. I'm not going to lie, boys. I've kind of changed my mind.
Yeah.
I think it'll be busier than last year, for sure, right? For the simple fact, like you said, there's a human psychology element, because if you look at last spring, right, February, March, April, the two things I look at, what rates we're at, which were 6.5-ish, right, with no points, which is important. And if you look at where home prices were, we've only gone up about 1.5%. Okay.
Right.
So in my head, part of me goes, yes, buyers are going to be more willing to shop at these rates because they've had a year of understanding, like, hey, this is what it's going to be. But home prices haven't really dropped. Okay. And the reason that I can say that,
we were up by 1%.
Right. The reason I can say that, though, and this is one of the charts I was looking at, is we look at something called the Case-Shiller Home Price Index, which essentially measures the affordability of the median price home based on a bunch of different factors throughout the United States. If you go back a year, right? So put it this way, to be like normal, the Case-Shiller index needs to be between like 80 and 100 points. Okay. Back January of last year, in February of last year, and March of last year, that index was 297, 298, and 307. So significantly above what we would see as normal affordability. Okay. That number hasn't gotten better.
Nope.
So last month it capped out at 319. So if I look at it, on one hand, I agree that the buyer sentiment is going to be, hey, it's a better time now to buy a house than it was last year. Okay. It's actually proven. So they did a study that came out, I think, last week, and they asked buyers, potential buyers, hey, what percentage of you think it's a good time to purchase a home? Last year it was at 14%. This year it's at 17%. So it's gone up 3%. Not a lot, but it's still trending in the right direction. But affordability is still an issue, as shown by the Case-Shiller Index. Home starts are still an issue, which to your point is inventory, right? And we still have 87% of homeowners under a 5% mortgage.
Yes.
So that lock-in effect is still very, very, very real. And my concern is the longer that effect happens and rates stay in that 6.5% to 7% range, the more and more enticing it's going to be for homeowners that do have equity, which, if you guys want the national average, what do you think the national average of equity is right now in the United States for homeowners?
As far as
obviously it changes
like
per market.
to, like percentage
Dollar
of people
amount.
who have equity?
Dollar amount. Every homeowner in the United States, what's the average amount of equity they have in their home? So what they owe on their mortgage versus what their house is worth.
200,000.
Okay.
I want to say 150.
$302,000.
Holy
Okay.
crap.
Now, granted, it's market specific, right? And I
Yes.
think there's a couple big markets that skew that, like San Francisco, San Bernardino, Colorado,
Florida.
Boise, Seattle. But on average,
Talk about
$305,000.
hyper-local Florida. Florida has one of the, 2 of the 5 highest markets
in the country.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
So-
and you have Punta Gorda, where my
Yeah.
family lives, where it's a retirement. So
Yeah.
you can still buy a house
But
for
no,
like
exactly to
$200,000.
your point, Jameson. That's exactly what I mean. Is in like, and that's why you have to take it with a grain of salt. Of spring 2024 is going to be a hot market. That's why I mentioned the location, because exactly to your point, I think that's because people are sitting on that equity, 300,000. Like
Also,
I just said,
this is the greatest website. I'm gonna send this to you guys.
but
All
like
the stuff we talk about is in this website.
Okay.
Just categorized. So
Nice.
like we talked about home ownership rates, right? It's right here.
Okay.
We're at 66%.
Which again, I don't understand, what the outcome they were thinking was going to happen, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen with
Well, and it's funny
with COVID because they dropped it because they think it was going to go
Yeah.
south, but then people kept buying and then they overbought, and now they were like, well, screw it, we're going to throw in
Well,
an
and
8%. It didn't really slow it down that much.
I had 2 conversations in the last 4 days with friends. One has a portfolio, has purchased homes, has he knows what the process is, and it's funny because we started talking about it. He's going, oh, it's hard, can't find something that in the area that I want for under $1 million, and he goes, oh man, so the Colorado market's not going to crash, huh? And it was, it's like, no, it's
I
not.
don't think any market's going to crash.
Right?
Because, but there was a few statistics out there that go into a recession,
But
a mild recession.
Yeah, but my whole point in that, with that is, that's still a thought.
Well,
is people are still going, yeah, but once it crashes, man, I'll be fine. It's like, yo,
Well, it's not.
Hold on.
That's a whole other conversation. But let me finish my thought on why I don't necessarily think that spring is going to be as insane. I was guilty of this, right? I've posted some stuff that when I was initially looking, I'm like, man, it's going to be nuts in the spring. I just don't think it will, because you still have, if housing prices had dropped 5-10% this year, and rates stayed or dropped 6.5 to 6.5, whatever, then I could see it, right? But our rates are essentially the same as they were last year. Okay. Housing prices are up over what they were last year. Inflation is at 3.2%, something like that, right? And it's a lagging indicator, so we don't really know what it's at. And then wage growth on average was about 4.1%. So if I'm looking at it just data analytic wise, the only thing that would drive buyers to the market in droves is if rates dropped below what they were last year. Because think about it, right? If I'm budgeting my monthly payment on a $500,000 house at 6.5% last year. Now I'm budgeting my monthly payment on a $510,000 house at a 6.8%. Maybe I got a 5% wage this last year, but inflation was up at 3.5%. So really my buying power only increased by like 2%. What, as a buyer, is enticing me to flood back into the market, aside from the fact that I got quote unquote used to the rates previously?
But that's exactly
see
what
what I'm
I
saying?
was. That's exactly no, and yes, and that's exactly what I was saying when I talked about I can't wait to see, migration data or the moving data, because to your point, why would somebody do that, right? And the reason that I think, yeah, I'll be honest with you,
There's
I
FOMO,
think-
right? There's
well,
FOMO. So
well,
to me, that's the only thing that's going to drive it. Is somebody goes, you know what?
I think
could
the
have
people that
afforded
were
it.
on the fence last year that
Yes.
stopped,
Correct.
will flood back in.
Correct, but that's
your data points. I think they point to, and I'm hoping, an equalizing year.
Yes, I think there's going to be now, this is my new opinion, right? My new opinion is I think there is going to be a slower roll of buyers entering the market.
hope
I
so.
don't think it's going to be a frenzy,
No,
but I like because a lot
I
of
hope
people.
so.
But see,
and
you know,
here's the last. But here's the last thing, right? The last reason I don't think it's going to be a crazy year is because we talk about the Fed dropping the rate.
Yeah.
Okay, they came out in December and said, "Hey, we're going to drop it at least 3 to 4 times."
They're chumming the waters.
That's what they're going to say. But
That's what they were doing.
when they do that, and Oscar, you know this, mortgage companies react. So they're not pricing in the first rate cut. They're pricing in a minimum of 3, right? So if the Fed's not going to drop the rates until Q2, which is what, January, February, March, so April, May-ish,
May.
right? So let's say they have a rate drop in May, July, and September. Okay? All of those rate cuts are already priced in to the mortgage rates that we see. So in my head, I go, if we're at 6.5 with a point now, I don't see a significant change until at least the back half of this next year.
Oh yeah,
but
the
again,
end of
this
the
is where
third
I'm
into the
saying,
fourth
like-
quarter, absolutely.
But
Right.
this
I
is,
agree.
This is why I mentioned the location of it, and that's what I mean is, I'll be straight up. I don't think California, I don't think Texas, I don't think Florida, I don't think us, like I said, Colorado. I don't think that we are going to see that frenzy.
Right.
I don't, because our home prices are so high. But based on the 310,000 average equity that people are sitting on, the reason I brought up the comfort with the rates is because last year, where people were, to your point, we were still at 6.5. I think they were still in that shock of, if I move, I'm going to have this rate. But what I think is going to happen is the states like North Carolina, Kentucky, these low home price areas where they have acreage, they can get a 3-bed, 2-bath for this. I think those markets are going to pop off. I think those markets are going to get killer because people are going to cash in and go, wait a second, I'm living on however many acres on a lot size here in Colorado, but I have equity, I have this much more in my home. So you're telling me that I can move one state over, but I can get the seclusion that I want, I can get the acreage that I want, I can build or have the house that I want with money left over to add the additions and make it as I want it because of all that equity that they're sitting on.
So this is the funny part, and this is why I like, Oscar, you brought this at the very beginning, the different viewpoints, right?
Yeah.
So let me just challenge this.
Yeah.
Oscar, as a father with kids in school, would you be willing to move 2 states over to Oklahoma just to get something cheaper?
Hell no.
Right. So here's the other piece of this, right? Now you got to look at the migration patterns when it comes to family. Because for you and Alicia, for example, you guys wouldn't have any issue necessarily moving to afford something in somewhere else. Most of your work is either remote. You can pick up clients doing videography, whatever. Alicia can get on with another apartment complex somewhere else. But you guys don't have kids who have friends who have sports, all these different things. So I agree with you, but I don't know if it's a big enough pull for somebody like myself or Oscar to pick up, uproot, and then leave, right, to a different state. So I look at my personal situation. My house right now is finished, 2,800 square feet. Okay, I got a nice little lot back up to the park, and we have plenty of space for myself, Caitlin, and Kieran. I have roughly $200,000 in equity in my house that I could pull out with a HELOC, right? I'm at a 3.125%. If I wanted to move to a bigger home, I would, regardless of where I'm at, unless I wanted to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, outside of Dallas, Texas, Plano, maybe somewhere in
You got to factor
Illinois,
in the taxes in those
whatever it
states,
is.
too.
Yes, you do, and that's a whole other conversation. Or North Carolina, right? But property taxes in the East Coast are whack anyway.
We're going to go to North Carolina. We're going to take a field trip.
But here's the thing, right? So let's say I
Seriously.
wanted more space.
Invest.
Does it make more sense for me and people in my scenario to sell my house, take that $200,000, put that on a down payment on a larger house in a different city or state or whatever it is, uproot the entire family, restart school, restart my business, all that kind of stuff? Or do I take out of that $200,000, do I take out $80,000, finish my basement, which is 1,100 square feet, add a bedroom, a bathroom, a wet bar, a theater room, a golf simulator. Now my house is 4,000 square feet, but I haven't had to move. I haven't touched my 3.125% APR at all, but now I have an extra 1,200 square feet of living space that's usable with an extra bedroom for family and friends and so on and so forth.
I love it.
See what I'm saying?
Well, no,
So
I get it. I get
the
it.
migration pattern is different, but what I'm saying is this just goes back to the point that there's so many
Factors.
homeowners right now that have a rate under 5%.
Yes.
And I just looked at new home starts. While they're good, they're still not where they need to be. We're about 1 million new home starts a year, multifamily and single family, to catch up to demand, which means we got to make up almost 100,000 units every single month, which right now it's not possible. So that's my point is like, what is going to drive this frenzy other than rates came
dinks.
down? About what?
Dinks.
Dinks and dunks?
Dinks.
Are we playing pickleball?
No, see,
I don't know what that means.
So
elaborate.
Is that like a dilf?
Elder millennial.
You're getting there. You're on the right pack. A dink.
Dudes
is
in new
Kicks.
nope.
hey.
We're talking about dual income, no kids.
Yeah.
Or Ralph's.
Ralph's. Mm-hmm. What
was it? Was it Ralph's? No. Henry's. Sorry. Oh, high earners not yet ready.
Yeah,
something like that.
And that's what I mean. And the reason I bring it up is yes, it's and this is why I love it, because when you really get into these conversations, you start realizing how many factors.
I'm gonna get on the phone and like, so you're a dink, huh?
Right? But what we're seeing is reports of younger millennials are not starting families. Our population is slowing down because they don't have kids, right? And that's where I think
younger millennials accosting boomers because they don't fucking sell their houses.
I think that plays into it. And again, now we go with the statistic of something like it was 30% of millennials that are renting are making over $120,000 a year, right? Mm-hmm. Sitting there waiting. And I know, like, speaking as currently a dink, right? As
more of a dilf, but okay.
Right? But speaking as that, what's churning in my head.
Two dilfs and a dink. New podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Two dilfs and a dink.
Okay.
Way off topic, but yeah.
That's where we are. But
we gotta find an acronym that's real estate related that are dunks, so we can have the Dink and Dunk podcast.
The dilk, the dunk, and the dink.
But and for me, it's just I see it moving because to your point, yes, you do have people who have the families that have the considerations, but who has right now the largest amount of equity in the U.S. population?
Baby boomers.
And
Awesome. You're about
what
to make my point. I love it. Continue.
But I was going to say,
and I'm going to add on to that.
Baby boomers, like you said, they're not going to want to sell. They're not going to. But think about the ones that have the realization of, I have this much money. I can get my dream home. I can have that. And yeah, I might be at a 6.5%, but I'm going to sell my house here for $600,000 and make. Because probably at this point they own it outright. They're going to technically have $600,000. Now they can go buy a house with acreage.
They're not going to go buy another house. They're going to go straight to the retirement community.
See, but here's
their millennial ass son or daughter or nephew is going to do something with that. And that's all valid points. These are all valid points.
Yes.
And there's the curveball of all this. So I'm hoping all your points are true. Because we need an equalizing year. Mm-hmm. Because as much as I don't want my house to go down in price, we need to have some kind of stabilization to have one or the other catch up. Whether we make more money, rates drop, and price points drop, just to make the affordability, we come back to that word, accessible to everyone. I as a real estate agent, that's what I want.
That's the reason that I bring it up. Because
it's interesting
for me,
to see where it's going to go.
But that's exactly the reason why I bring it up, because for me, I love Colorado. Like this, you guys know how much I love this state. But when I sit back and I actually think about it and I go, okay, all right, we're at dual income, no kids. We're making this amount of money. If we were to go and get a property now, even like I said, this young couple that I'm helping, $320,000 for an 1,100 square foot condo. They did phenomenal in the market getting it, and they're going to make money on it, brand new kitchen, everything. But you're telling me I could take that $320,000 and just go, for 5 years, let me go make the investment, and I can go do this. And again, remote work is up, working from home is up. People they're flooding into Denver for that reason.
You don't have to move either.
Yeah,
most of my investors have investments in other states and live here.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my point. Is I think that having once people see like, my money will go farther here, I think that's what will fuel it. And again, like I said, it's not. I don't think Colorado market's going to pop off, but I do think these lower price markets are going to see a bump because of the equity that we're sitting on, the value in general that younger millennials are looking at. Because at the end of the day, I think that we're going through a shift in public sentiment with younger millennials are now going, I need to stretch my dollar.
So I'd like to know what the stats are in a state like Georgia.
Yeah.
Right? Because Georgia has a lot of those, what you talked about,
Yep.
right? You could buy acreage, you could buy a lot of stuff, but those communities aren't the best. And then you got Atlanta. Atlanta's popping.
Yep.
Atlanta is
perfect. Actually,
so I would love to see what that market looks
so
like.
I actually have
We have the stats for it because we share MLSs.
Right now, I actually have a buddy that works for D.R. Horton in Florida, or in Georgia, excuse me. D.R. Horton in Florida, right in that Georgia area, close, like Hilton Head adjacent. But he's saying
That's South Carolina.
Hilton Head, South Carolina. But as far as where it is, like they're a comparable market. And so he's telling me, he's like, yeah, man, I don't have to do anything, because he has people coming in that are doing cash, that have flipped, sold, whether it's investors, whether it's older generation, that are now coming in and going, yeah, I want this. I have $500,000. You're selling this for $320. Here you go. I'm buying it. I'm moving in. And now, like, that's why I say,
right. But here's the problem.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the dinks.
Yep.
Right. So the dinks are normally millennials, right?
Dink is.
One of the things that millennials have proven time and time again that they want is amenities. Okay. And the problem is twofold. Number one, if you want to move from Colorado, and let's say you are a millennial that, makes $100,000 and wants their money to go farther, you kind of have to go to more either rural or underdeveloped areas. You just do, right? And millennials have proven that what they want is they want comforts. They are, and you've said it before, they want experiences.
Yep.
Now, granted, everybody's different, right? Your experiences are, hey, I'm going to go in the mountains, go camping, do whatever. A lot of millennials, or my experiences are, I want to go to new restaurants, cafes, bars. I want to have activities. I want to have social groups, all that kind of stuff. Where do you find
communities where you can get
Where do you find those?
Don't want that in there.
Right. So, but here's the thing, right? And I'm just looking at Charlotte just because we brought it up. You can get in Charlotte within the city limits of Charlotte, where you would assume that there's city life and nightlife and different things to do. 4-bed, 3-bath is $759,000. Okay.
Charlotte. See, that's the thing, though. Are you looking where in
Hyper
Charlotte are you
local,
looking?
right? And two different things.
Everywhere.
We have
Second Ward, Elizabeth, Sedgefield.
we have
So
hold
but
on,
are you
time
looking
out.
like Huntersville, Mooresville, like surrounding Charlotte areas that are only 30 minutes out?
This is my point.
Exactly.
Because the people that are going to move there are going to be the baby boomers that want to upgrade and buy, for example.
Yes.
And I want to throw a wrench in that. There's two clashing generations right now.
Right.
Millennials and baby boomers. Millennials want amenities. Baby boomers need amenities.
Right.
They need them, right? And who's left in the middle? Gen Zs. They don't give a shit. I wonder where they stand with all this.
That's my thing, is like, when you have an entire generation that is mentally okay with living out of a van, you know what I mean? Like, let me have the experience, but close it in, right? You have people that are more willing to buy that lower priced home, put a little bit into it, live in it for a little bit.
Hey, here's a
sell
question. Comment on this.
Yeah,
if you're a
let us know.
millennial, where do you stand with
venture to
this?
guess that is a smaller percentage than what you're giving credit for.
Really?
Yes.
And I think social
Because
media
think about it, right?
gives it a lot. Social media is a soapbox.
The people that are comfortable with that tend to hang out with each other, right? Same reason we talk about left versus right on social media. So people get this like, oh, there's a whole generation that is like that. I have people that are my age and younger that live downtown Denver that refuse to buy because they like renting downtown, because they can go walk across the street, grab great sushi, and they can go walk across and go to the Dart arcade place, and they can go to One Up, and then they like to go out on the weekends and interact and mingle and do all these different things. I have another segment that likes to go skiing and snowboarding, right? That's just their thing here in Colorado. But they don't want to live up in the mountains because it's too goddamn expensive. They would rather pay rent at $2,200 a month than a mortgage at $4,000 a month, because they will use that extra money to finance the Epic Pass and all those type of things. So it depends on what your like tribe is. My contention is, yes, you want all these people, or all these people want to take their equity or take their savings because they make $100,000 and they're renting to move somewhere else. But the houses available are being occupied by baby boomers who are at a 3.5%. that would rather take their money and add an extension onto that existing house, make it larger. And therefore, when you do want to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma, you have to be out in the boonies. And my contention is most millennials don't want to live out in the boonies to buy a house. I'd be okay with it, right? Like if you put me on 5 acres on a 5,000 square foot house in, I don't know, somewhere in Texas, but then you have property taxes, which, they
are ridiculous.
Whatever. But my point is, like, yes, I think there's a migration want. I think the lock-in effect with these interest rates is being so grossly understated because people are just like, oh, well, rates are coming down to 6.5%. It's going to be wild. No, because nobody's fucking moving. And if you look at new construction, it can't keep up. And I've actually started to see, and you've probably seen it too, the incentives are starting to disappear a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're also slowing down the construction side. They still can't sell the houses that they have because even at 6.5%, you still have to be able to qualify and afford it.
And if they're offering the incentives, they're not dropping. They're very, very stringent on the price.
And the markets I think that are going to have the biggest booms are the ones where the median income is more closely correlated with the median household price, right? So the median household price is,
and those are
$485,000.
They're very rare markets.
Right. Like I know, dude. I know I can move to somewhere in West Pennsylvania and have probably an 8,000 square foot home on 10 acres, beautiful colonial house. Do I want to do that? No. No, I don't. Like I don't have any reason to. If I want to move to Tulsa, can I restart a real estate business there? Sure. Arizona, another one, right? I've been talking about potentially moving to Arizona. I can get on with a team there and restart.
Yeah, me too.
Do I want to? I don't know, man.
I'll call you in the summer.
Again,
I'm at a
3.125%. So in order for me to move to make it make sense, I have to have a house that's at least twice as big as mine, which means my property taxes go up. And then I still have to be okay with paying a 6.5% on that property.
I had this conversation with my wife.
If
we were to move out of the house we're in now, I would love to move to acreage.
Right.
But it makes no goddamn sense for me because I have a 2.875.
If you were at a 5.5,
I would take all my equity and it would not even come close to to offset. You know, it just doesn't make sense to us.
But you're also paying 2.875 on 500,000 plus.
Right.
Versus if you look at it and you get a house for 280 at 6.5.
Oh no, I'm moving to Perry Park, baby.
What house am I getting for 280?
But
not
this
here.
is what I'm talking about. Those markets. That's what I mean. Where those houses are priced.
You know where those houses are?
Wichita,
Kansas. They're all on the Gulf Coast, and you're talking Louisiana, Alabama, Southern Missouri. In which case, cool, I can move there, and like we talked about, the average equity in Louisiana is about $130,000, right? But the average payoff on their mortgage is $120,000, which means their house is probably worth, you can do the math, $350,000, right? Cool, I can go to Louisiana and I can move down there. But if I am not somebody that can remote work 100%
you're not going to
of
move
the
to
time,
Louisiana. A lot of insurance companies
that too,
left.
Correct. But what kind of economic opportunities are there for me if I can't work remote, right?
Yeah.
You better be good at jazz.
Honestly, I'm excited to see what happens. This is, I think, exactly as Oscar said earlier, is not only, I think this will be a good leveling year, but I also think it will be an amazing year for statistics and numbers.
It is. And
to
I think
play into the overall market.
And I hope it goes in a positive way. I'm interested to see what it's going to do.
Yeah, home prices are going to increase for all the reasons we just talked about.
We're up 1% from last year,
right?
Even with the crappy interest rate.
And as a buyer, I think
1%.
the important thing is to understand where the market's at by listening to us and doing due diligence.
Listening to
And we've said it time and time again, right? You can't time the market. It's physically impossible. So when you're ready,
say your coin phrase.
When you're ready, you're ready. Yeah, you can't time in the market will always beat timing the market. It just will, right? So if the goal of, if you're a buyer coming in, right, why don't we talk about 2 or 3 things that a buyer can do over the next month to just get ready to jump, if that's what the plan is.
Watch the Mile High Perspective on YouTube. That covers all 2 or 3 things.
Perfect. Absolutely.
And
you're gonna have to weed through the
and obviously, guys,
the dad jokes and whatnot.
We've been over this in the episodes that we've had. By the way, episode 50.
I know.
Episode 50.
Yep.
It's today, right now.
Wow.
So thank you guys for helping us get this far. But I
episode 50 and 37,000 views on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yep, over 300 hours of watch time. It's cool stuff. But and we could sit here and tell you how to prepare. We've already done 3 to 4 episodes on how to prepare, right? This episode is like, hey, listen to us talk about it, our insights, what we think, where it's going to go. You have experience of 20 years, you have experience of 5 years, you have experience of a year and a half, 2 years now, and like Oscar said, it's you have a bunch of different inputs, and obviously I'm hopelessly optimistic. As somebody who's looking to buy a house, I want it to go well, But at the end of the day, it's like Jameson said, it's not timing. It's not what the rates are doing. It's how you're prepared to do it. So go through our playlist, see what vibes with you, see how we can help you.
And comment, please,
Yeah,
so
reach
we
out.
know. I would
Ask
love,
us questions.
or call us. I would love to meet some of you guys. Just to have
Absolutely.
a good conversation.
Absolutely.
If you need a vent on something that we said and you think that you have a better perspective, that's awesome. That's what we're here for. I would love, and I am always open to hear what you think. You're not wrong. Vent to me, and then if I have 2 cents, I'll give you my 2 cents. And if I don't, I'm gonna take your advice and your comments and really analyze it to what I believe. It's like Lil Wayne said, we live in the same building, but we have different views.
Young moolah, baby.
That's right.
Also, if you guys want to, live like Thomas Jefferson in Virginia, to our point of like markets are very different. 9-bed, 6-bath, 8,000 square feet, Victorian home for $799,000 in Suffolk, Virginia, which is just right outside of Virginia Beach and Norfolk.
Oh, Emily, we're moving. We're going to Virginia.
Half an acre lot. Taxes are $7,200 a year. Nothing crazy. I mean,
Wild.
I don't want to like be controversial, but like I feel like this person at one point
Had
owned slaves.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We're not going to Virginia. I mean, my family can. I mean, my wife's Scandinavian. She'd fit right in. I am a little too dark.
Also, this is
Not gonna fit in
ugliest
Virginia.
interior, but I swear to God, this is literally
The coolest
Joseph
telephone.
Bell's telephone that he used.
That's
What?
Awesome. That is awesome.
I'm
Guys,
sorry.
I think
What was our telephone company?
Dude, this
You
is
weren't
cool-
here
look at
yet.
this. They have them all over the house.
That's
Oh my God,
awesome.
we should put these.
Who was
up
one
on
of
the
our
channel.
first telephone companies here in Colorado? Do you remember?
Bell?
Mountain Bell.
Yeah, Mount Bell.
Mountain Bell.
Yeah.
that's great.
That was awesome.
Well,
Holy shit,
guys,
there's actually a slave in here.
shut up.
I hope they did, this kind of gave you some insight. And honestly, guys, this episode was more for us to just kind of vibe out with you, kind of see what 3 real estate agents think that the market's going to do, especially with all the headlines coming out. It's going to be good. Everybody, social media saying, oh, it's going to be the best. Get ready.
And I can't stress this enough. Comment, send us emails. I don't care. I want to hear what you think.
The best way
All
to
of us.
understand it for us is to have the conversation.
Yes, and
And we all know how many hours you guys spend on Zillow looking at houses you can't
and
afford.
how many hours you spend on social media. I want to hear it. I don't care if you talk shit about my hat or my shoes. I want to hear it.
Don't
but
touch the glasses, though.
not the glasses. You can't fuck with my glasses.
Say anything about the
Don't say anything about the
shit.
goddamn glasses.
These are them. What's Horatio Kane?
Yeah.
From CSI.
Yeah.
It's like him. You don't fuck with the glasses. No, but I want to hear from you. I want like one of the very first podcasts we had. I joked around. I said, I don't read statistics. I make them. You are the people out there making the statistics. I want to know what you think. I want to know where your mind's going because you're part of the factor
Well,
of
what
what's
kind
going to
of
happen this year.
concerns you guys have? What kind of
What
questions
concerns
you guys have?
you and how we
I
can
think,
alleviate that.
I think it's a good time to move into the One Rock takeaway for today's episode. And
'Kay.
I think let's do our best to keep it concise.
Nah.
And
Yeah,
we,
I ain't doing shit.
You
Shut
know,
up, Charlie. It's 50. We're at 50.
right? All right. So, One Rock takeaway for today's episode. I'll go ahead and start it. As always, guys. Again, as Jameson said, it's not time in the market. It's not timing the market. It's time in the market. Regardless of what's going to happen, teach yourselves, learn. Learn what concessions are. Learn all the power that you have as a buyer as you come into this, because it's only going to set you up to have those better conversations. And the more knowledgeable you are, the better opportunity that you have.
I will piggyback on that and say that the housing market, as it shifts from a buyer's market to a seller's market to a balanced market, whatever that looks like, it is at its core a game of leverage. And if you understand where the market's at, you can execute that leverage. We obviously can help you, but I can't force you guys to jump in to purchase or sell a house. When you guys decide to, then we can work on the leverage piece. And the more knowledge that you guys gain from your own due diligence, watching the channel, listening to us, whatever it looks like, is just going to help put you in a better position when you are ready to purchase or are ready to sell. And then our job is to essentially, I don't want to say, engage that leverage. but-
Lubricate the gears.
yeah. We want to make it better, right? And I talk to a lot of people that they're unsure of what's happening. Use us.
We are a tool belt for what you need to do. My one rock is I'm going to open my ears to what the general public's going to do and wants to do. Again, I'm going to stress this. I need you guys to comment, call us, do something, not for business so much, but for data. I want to know what you're thinking. Like, the general public, you're the ones that run this, whether it's politics or whatnot. We were having a really silly conversation earlier, but everybody has their own opinion. What's yours? And even the user 1.5.685 that has his real estate license that said that we suck, love you too. I want to hear what you have to say. Vent with me. I want to give you my professional opinion. We're probably going to argue. Some F-bombs may be dropped, but I still love you.
I'm going to send you this. Okay?
Yeah,
I just want you to post it and just say, hey, give us a call.
Yeah.
My other caption for this is, hey, Alexa, the British are coming.
That's awesome. That's a good one. I like it. And now the part of the episode that I think I'm going to struggle a little bit with, our bourbon review.
You're going to struggle with it.
I think I'm going to struggle.
Why?
Because it.
Start us off then.
So, okay. All right. Hold on. Let me.
You know what? Regardless of what it tastes like, the 115 caught up. So I'm like, it's tasty.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
Hello.
Hi.
You know what? It's a spicy bourbon for, I feel like, what kind of turned into a spicy conversation.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think I like today's conversation for it because it's like normally we're all on the same page. Obviously, on today's episode, I was a little bit.
you were a dink.
I was a dink.
You were a
I
dink,
was
bro.
a dink.
We were
on
dilfs.
today's-
We were the
We're a dink, I'm
dilfs,
just
you were the
I was
dink.
a dink
I mean,
on
it is
today's
what it is.
episode.
Hey,
I'm gonna make it. The
we
title.
were in the
Dinks
same
and-
building.
Dinks and
We
dunks.
just had different
Dinks, dilfs,
views.
and dunks.
Lil Wayne, he's a mastermind. Genius.
Dinks, Dilfs, and Dunks podcast. Damn, we got to have a whole new series.
Whole
Triple
new series.
D's. Shoot. Guy Fieri, don't sue us. I was just kidding.
So I still have the original pour from the start of the episode, and I will say it's
What a dink.
What a dink.
I don't want to say exactly what I thought would happen, but the sweetness comes through on the nose way heavier.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it opened.
Why don't you want to say that that's what happened?
Because I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, I know, I'm good.
Well,
I'm
I
that
mean,
good.
we've
spice
dinked
is
we've
still there.
dinked at least 50 bourbons.
All right, now you
Okay.
can't misuse it. All right. No,
We
I
can
like
do what we want.
The sweetness came through at absolute, almost to like, for me, I almost now get like a ice cream with the
Yeah.
sweetness.
So
how it
that's
opened
funny
up.
you say that. Have you guys ever had Rolos?
Yeah,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
yeah,
It like the aftertaste on the back of my tongue is like a Rolo.
yeah.
I've had Rolos in 10 years, and somebody brought them for Christmas, and I've downed like 10 of them a day. Yeah.
nice.
So it may just be
But I mean,
overwhelming my
ultimately-
palate. But
And then, like on the nose, like I said, it opened up that sweetness really punches.
the
through.
burn's still there, though.
Oh yeah, it's still there,
You know,
but it's
the-
there as an additive.
The nose is still there. The burn is absolutely still there, but it's more like the taste comes in like a marshmallow, kind of
Yeah.
just spongy.
Well, and that's where for me,
sweet.
like having this, that when I said earlier when we started that first sip, the spice. Now with this one, it's immediately that spice hits right at the front of the flavor, and then goes down to that sweetness, the caramel, and all that. But also, hold on, I'm getting so much more of the wood.
Yep.
Like, absolutely. And it makes sense to me. And I think the reason I said I'm going to have trouble with it is because, not because it's bad or anything, but because the guy who sits on the edge of society part of me, when you hear like, oh yeah, 2024 or 2023 best Kentucky bourbon, I wanted to be like, oh, I'm going to tear this bitch apart. But no, I can tell why. At the front, it goes, like if I can explain it, it's like you open the bottle up and it's like that mysterious person, that mysterious girl that you're like, oh damn, she's bad. Like she's bad. It looks hard, Like I might want to.
Which mysterious girl, Charlie?
I might want to delve into that. Come on, now,
What's
don't get me in
going on
trouble. I'm
here?
just saying. When you, it's like that, like the adventure's there, right? The adventure's
Right.
there at the beginning of
Game
like,
on.
yeah, like there's something interesting here. But then as you experience it,
Dark
as you get to know
eyeshadow,
them, like-
full sleeve tattoo.
as you get to experience it and it opens up, you talk
Yeah,
a little
sucks.
bit
That's
more.
both of our wives.
You talk a little bit more, you get to know it, and then it goes, oh no, damn, this was
No, I want
this is good.
I want to kind of piggyback on that. It's
Yeah.
If I would have known the process he told me, I'd had a different opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I get it.
get it.
My hat's
Exactly.
off.
I also get it because we've tried the Oak and Eden with
Yes.
the single.
Their work is coming through the
You know
with
what I
their
mean?
bourbon.
Like it's
100%.
like what Oak and Eden wanted to do, but they did it right,
Yes.
and they did it with different flavors. And I think that's what we're seeing is because if they would have just used a single stave,
Yeah.
right, and like just say one, and I like the idea of the oak bill.
Yeah. absolutely.
I really do.
Yeah.
Because now you can play with those flavors a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was, you went from French cask to American charred oak and maybe like, I don't know, bourbon. And then instead of sherry, you do like a Cabernet something. Like you could really play with these because it's aged for so long.
Yep.
And it's so much wood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I don't know.
so
Anyway.
and this is what my analogy is. So the last one we
like
had was we said it was the IPA of bourbons,
Yeah.
right? This one is more of it's a staple because they added a new element, which is the cask bill.
Yep.
Yes.
This is more like the sour of beers. It's its own thing.
I compare it to
who else does that?
I compare it to Dexter, right? Like just that.
I can now say I know what they're talking about.
That
texture was good.
That experimental, like I'm going to think a little out of the box. And yes, this is traditionally how barrels are aged, and we're going to do it traditionally. But then we're going to switch it the fuck up.
Yeah.
And to your like, ooh, this chick is bad analogy. It's like going to a bar, right? And you find that chick that's like, okay, lights are low. It's 2 a.m. And then when the lights come on, you're just hoping and praying. You know what I'm saying? But then the lights turn on, and you're like, oh shit, I made a good decision for once. This is great.
You know
what I'm saying? Like,
no, and that's exactly the point I was going to make is like the 115 proof at the front. You're like I don't know. You take the first sip, you on the nose, you're like, oh, this is a little overpowering on the heat. I like what they're doing, but then it opens. You sip it, and that's why I say like I get why and how they got the best Kentucky bourbon, because it has the complexity, it has the evolution of flavor once you do let it open. And if you think about it as putting ice in it, opening it up, drinking it neat on the rocks, I think what they did played, the mash bill especially plays so well into what they did with the oak.
Yep.
Having that higher malted barley with the higher corn, that sweetness plays so well into the tartness of the wood with the higher 115 proof. I think for my rock rating on this, I like it. Before I give it, what's the price point?
Without the price point, what would you give it?
Without the price point, I'm probably sitting about a 3.2.
Okay.
3.3.
What do you think the price point is?
Ooh, 115, special kind of distilling process. I'll go 65.
What if I told you that it was $52?
No shit.
Nice.
Okay.
And with 115 proof, with me, that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I'm like, worst case scenario, it's gonna do its job. At 115, whether it's garbage, I drink enough, I don't care. It's dangerous playing with that proof because of that.
Yep.
So to make a decent to good bourbon at that proof or higher, like Booker's,
Yep.
we haven't had Booker's.
No.
It's because it's not my favorite, but it is within my wheelhouse. But I need to tone it down because it's a wild horse.
Yeah.
Booker's is a wild horse. Man, I think they're doing something different. I like it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sit. Yeah, especially at that price point, I think I'm gonna have to give this right around a 3.13.
What'd you give Prohibition?
Prohibition was our highest rated.
Right. So why is Prohibition more?
So I see.
higher?
I like the Prohibition because I feel like it had a little bit more, not complexity, but I like.
Well, you said at the beginning it was less complex.
This was less complex.
No.
Yeah.
Prohibition.
No. I was saying no. What I said about the Prohibition was that you can tell Prohibition had to be made to be drank, so it was sweeter. But again, for my palate,
Well, you said sweeter, but you said this had more complexity. We'll rewind the tape. I'll throw the challenge flag.
let's do it.
You did
I'm
say
gonna
it.
stay out of this one.
No,
You did
I-
say
I-
it.
honestly,
you said it.
now
I'm
that
just
we're-
asking.
No.
'cause
Now
I think
that
they're
we're-
very similar bourbons. That's
now
what
that
I'm
we're
asking.
but now that we're at the end of it,
Yeah.
I think that this one, the complexity is different than Prohibition. The Prohibition,
I'm gonna have
I
to agree
think,
with that.
stayed in a certain wheelhouse of flavor in its complexity, whereas this one, it's an evolution of complexity between spice, sweetness, and heat, all of that. Whereas Prohibition was, this is sweet for the purpose of, we want you to enjoy it, we want it to be palatable, and you drink it, but it never really differentiated heavily. This one, when we first poured it, the complexity was there in the flavor in the back end, but now it's very much like steps, A, B, C, D, spice, sweetness, oak, basic, where Prohibition was, I feel like, a gliding scale. So for me, and again, the thought of Prohibition not changing the mash bill from before Prohibition to now, I think that played into the quality of that and the thought of that rating for me. Versus with this, it's brand new. They're trying different things. They're implementing the oak and stuff like that. So I like where they're at. But again, it's that 115 proof. And I always think of the average bourbon drinker. There's somebody who's watching us to go, oh, hey, should I buy this bourbon? I still think that person, if I gave this to my buddy who I gave executive 100 proof to, he wouldn't be able to enjoy this. He wouldn't be able to get through it and sip it long enough to get to the complexity because that punch is so heavy on the front.
So why is he your friend?
This is a wrench in the machine of the person that likes traditional bourbon.
Yeah.
Because you can't help but to like this.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It goes against the man.
It goes against the man.
I'm kind of, I'm at a loss of what to rate this because from their aspect of trying something new, it works. Yeah. And I like it. Mm-hmm. It's not traditional. But it's within my wheelhouse. The flavor of sweetness didn't overpower the drinkability for me. Mm-hmm. The 115 is right there. I was joking at the poker party that we were drinking some bourbon that was 80 proof. I was like, spit that shit out. We're better than that, And I was joking, but 90 plus is kind of where my baseline is with good bourbon. This is 115. It already comes in, on my good side.
Don't you have a frother?
I do have a frother.
You need to bring that in.
I've been meaning to bring it in.
You guys need to bring it in.
It does change it.
I think
it does change it.
Well, and I think when you get complex bourbons like this, especially higher proof, if we were to take our 3 glasses, taste them throughout the episode, and then froth JC's glass.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be a different bourbon, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And here's the other thing too with the prohibition for me, versus this one. I think the prohibition, and again, I'm talking about feeling wise, right? You were sick during that. I only had one. I think I had 1.5 pours of the prohibition, but like talking on this being 115 proof, the effect that I feel is different than I felt with the prohibition. This one definitely feels like I drink 115 proof. I'm relaxed. I'm sunk into the chair. I'm vibing. I could drink another one. The prohibition, I still felt active. Like I still felt like, okay, cool. I had a drink. Let's go have the day. This one, I'm 100% ready to just sit and be like, yeah, I'm just chilling. I don't really want to do anything. I don't want to get up and go focus on it.
Yeah.
So I think that plays into it for me as well.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere for at least 45 minutes.
Right? Like that's
so
what I think.
It is definitely a chill bourbon.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's coming from for me.
This is a fire pit bourbon.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
This is call me up
this is
bourbon.
a cocktail.
Also, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I think I don't remember if I said this with prohibition because I was a little sick. I've done a lot of different smoked bourbons. This one would be fantastic.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because
it would take on the flavors well.
That front end burn
yes.
would be complemented by especially like cherry wood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or peach.
Or maple.
So
yeah.
This
Yeah.
It is.
All right, so
No,
I'll
You're
go
at
ahead.
3-2?
I said it. Yeah. I'm gonna go. Well, I'm gonna go 3-1. 3-1.
All right.
Solid 3-1.
3-1.
What are you guys looking at?
It's so prohibitions.
We rated it 2, right?
It
was a 2.3.
It's apple
2.3,
pie,
yeah.
right?
2.3.
You know what you're gonna get, and you're gonna sit and you're gonna enjoy it. Throw some ice cream; it's fucking delicious. This is more. Wow, man! It's anywhere between a key lime pie and a cake pop. It's so new and different, but I like it, and the flavoring, the sweetness, and everything else didn't overpower the bourbon portion of it. The bourbon part of it was there. It was the underbody is what carried it. The complexity of the bourbon carried it into something else. But because you told me the process, I can appreciate that. Mm-hmm. It's something new that doesn't suck. And with bourbon, that speaks volume, right? Because I'm sorry, Breckenridge, I love your original stuff, but that Cask, you need to trash that. For me, at least. It's nowhere near my wheelhouse. I will never buy that. Your other stuff, I'll definitely buy. This, they tried something new and it worked, and it might be something of a trend.
I was going to say, I think this may, with the
Start
oak
something.
bill, I think this may grab.
Yes, it might start something. And if not, you're going to capitalize because you're making a good bourbon at a higher proof that's complex, that doesn't suck.
Yeah. All right.
So, I can't rate it as good as a prohibition just because I have history with it, but it's right there with it. I'm going to go with the solid 3.
So as of right now, before Jameson goes, we have, if we were to give our top 4, it's Prohibition, then Dexter, then Smoke Wagon. Those would be our top 3 right now as far as ratings go.
And that was what, 2, 3?
No, we had that private.
The
Elijah Craig
private.
private barrel.
Yep, and that one was, I think we did
2.5-ish.
Yeah.
2.6,
2.6
2.7 on that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So those are our 4. So Prohibition, Dexter, Smoke Wagon, Elijah Craig.
For what they're doing and the price, man. Yeah.
Yeah, the price is what kills me. Like,
I know.
Yes,
That's what's getting me because you look at Dexter, $63 bucks. Private Barrel's $80.
Yeah.
Smoke
At the
Wagon's
cheap end.
the uncut unfiltered $79, so 80
$80.
And then the other one was Prohibition was how much? 80?
$60.
60.
66
See,
bucks.
like I said, if you go 60, 52, if I take price out of it, then I'd probably put it above all of those, below all of those, higher than all of those, I guess.
If you did a blind taste test and said, these are $100
if
bottles,
price was not an option,
you couldn't.
dude, price wasn't an option, I'd probably put it at 2.5, honestly.
yeah.
If it's knowing that, like, if it's just if price was if price is the option, it's a 2.5.
Yeah.
Right. Because
No,
If you would
I'm
have came
right
to me
there
and
with
said
you.
this was a $100 bourbon,
yeah, if I'm like,
I would
if I want
I would
100,
believe
if I
it,
want
yeah.
115 proof bourbon that I enjoy drinking, that has complexity, I can do different things with it. Whether it's an old fashioned, a Manhattan, I can smoke it, whatever, nice easy sipper as well. And you're telling me I could pick this up for 52 or Smoke Wagon uncut and filtered for 80? I'd save the $28 and buy this hands down every single time.
Yeah.
But in a blind taste test where I don't know the price, I'm probably somewhere between like a 2.8 and a 3. I did like the Prohibition. I need to taste it again now that I'm not sick, because to me as I'm remembering, like I think this has more complexity, and I think it's only because Prohibition, the burn dissipated, whereas this has stayed. So I think it adds a different element. They use the same distilling process as Dexter.
Nice.
Keeping it within a tenth of a degree, using all copper, everything. I'd say I'm going to go 2.8.
2.8, 3.13.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's a
It's
good
a good
one.
bourbon.
Honestly, guys, if you're looking to try something, looking to experiment, try something a little different, 100% go for this guy. Especially,
I just love the oak bill. I know
Yeah.
half of it's marketing,
but still, no, it's
right?
great.
But the fact that they were like, you know what? Why not age it not just in a barrel, but within a barrel? And then, well, we've mixed mash bills, so why not mix the type of oak that we use? I think is a genius move.
Absolutely.
I really do.
I think this is gonna be like a baseline, which then as bourbon gets more popular, as we've seen, it's trending up. I think more people are gonna try it. But again, I like how this shows like bourbon is growing, and people are investing in trying to do different things in order
Also,
to change it.
I like that they invested and tried different things in a 115 proof.
Yes.
Because you will see this a lot in like 80 proof because it's cheaper.
I have
right?
one at home.
Basically.
I don't
So
know who the
yes.
distiller is. They added flavor, and there's
Correct.
particulates in
So
there.
the fact that they went, you know what? Fuck it. Barrel proof.
Yep.
So we're not going to add any water.
And we're not gonna
We're
skip
gonna
on
let
time.
the wood do the thing, and we're going to do something completely different, and we're going to still not charge an arm and a leg for it.
I like it.
Broken Barrel.
I like it.
I like what you guys
Cheers.
are
I
That's
like
good
it too.
stuff.
Yep.
And hey, we'll reach out to you, see if we can be on your podcast.
doing. No
vice
shit.
versa.
Yeah, you guys have
That'd be
podcasts. Let's do it.
What's up?
All right.
Well, on that note, guys, thank you again for joining us on another episode. Remember, you can always reach out to us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective. We have a bunch of community playlists on there. All of the Real Estate Served on the Rocks videos are on there as well. Any questions that you have, you can comment on the videos, send us a direct message. You can always reach out to us 24/7, RESOTR at themilehighperspective.com via email. And for the phone call,
303-578-0263 goes to all of us. If you're spam, stop calling us.
yeah.
But
Stop
303-578-0263.
Stop using our number for verification of employments
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
I don't know who you are, Josefina, but I don't know who
I don't
you
think
are.
you worked at Kmart in
I
2009.
don't think you worked for us anytime soon. And
and Oscar, where can they find you? Social media, my friend.
OscarTheRealtor.com, Oscar the Realtor CO, Instagram, across the board.
At The Lifting Agent or That Lifting Agent, Instagram, TikTok.
And then the Colorado Real Estate Guy, pretty much everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and the website. And I always point this out. I'm going to make a point of doing this every episode if you guys watch this all the way through. Videographer of the century.
Yeah.
So
This is the man that
If
makes
you
it
guys,
happen.
if you guys do need anything when it comes to social media, when it comes to clips, when it comes to video editing,
Shorts.
cinematography, shorts, anything, reach out to Charlie. He obviously produces this podcast for us and does a lot of different things, specifically with other whiskey companies. The Whiskey Cartel, I believe, is one of your biggest clients. But he's available for anything. We can do. What do you do? Brand stories.
Brand story videos, marketing.
Yep.
We do any kind of Facebook, YouTube ads, any kind of social media stuff like that. And even if you just want to talk video marketing strategy, you know, how does it play in? What's the ROI? Stuff like that. More than happy to have that conversation with you because at the end of the day, if you're spending money, you want to know why you're spending money.
And for all you real estate agents that start using your glamour shot pics, call them up.
Yeah.
Update your picture.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
And client testimonial videos go so far.
Yeah,
so
I got to
far.
get on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on that note, guys, have a wonderful week. We'll be back with you next week. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. And again, cheers. Hope you're enjoying the bourbon that you're sipping on.
And
Get
we
ready
wanna-
for
we
spring. We don't know what the fuck's going to happen.
No, we absolutely don't. But we want to hear from you. Please comment.
Yeah.
Get a hold of us. Call us. Text us. I don't care. Let us know what you're thinking.
Yep.
100%. We're not going to dog you out. You just want to talk to us. Say, hey, what's up? Give us a call.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Comment. Salud.